Another thing that affects people working together is their attachment style. And this can come down to do they have a positive model of other people, or do they have a negative model of other people? In the same way, do they have a positive view of themselves, or do they have a negative view of themselves? And it's a two-dimensional attachment model. So this is where it can come through. If you've got a secure attachment, it's likely that you're not going to get triggered. So this is where it comes into the absence of illness doesn't mean that you're healthy. So people with in the secure attachment circle, they can get healthy, or they can go to the gym, they can exercise their brain, and they can practice it, and they're more comfortable doing that as well. If someone's dismissive, you know, they're self-reliant and all this sort of thing, but these are the people that struggle to ask for help, because they see it as, if they ask for help, you know, it's questioning their authority. Or questioning, you know, they can do it. Don't you think I can do the job? That's not independence, that's codependence, which is something that you can look up the difference between the two. Then you've got the fearful one. Now, this tends to be from, you know, they've been rejected. A lot of people that are abusive, it's kind of like a dysfunctional attachment style where they've got high anxiety and they avoid other people as well. So they can be quite hard to work as part of a team. But if you know what to look for and you make them feel comfortable, they can actually move into the other ones there as well. And then you've got the preoccupy ones, and they're the ones that are just focusing on building the relationship, which can be an issue, and you might think it's a good thing, but they can be annoying to some other people in the team and quite disruptive there as well. Okay, so when we went back at the start, we had the three separation, the separation sensitivity, the esteem sensitivity, and the safety sensitivity. But people say, yes, that's great, that's fine, but how do we put all this together in life? And this is where it comes down to that when you're dealing with people and you're talking to people on social media, you see cues, or they give off cues in their conversation, and particularly with Facebook Lives when they don't have the body language and stuff like that. Sorry, when they do have the body language. If they're doing written stuff, then they don't have the body language, and this is where introverted and extroverted communication can be affected on social media too, but this will still hold true. So separation sensitive, what are the cues of that? They're afraid of separation, they avoid distance. Their dilemma is they cannot be themselves and truly be expected to connect, and if I'm myself, I'll be abandoned. Or if I'm no use to someone, they're going to abandon me. So I need to be of use to them. Intense pressure to be rewarded for their neediness, helplessness, and incompetence. So they want to be known as a victim, but they're not necessarily a victim. Well, if they're still alive, they're definitely not a victim, because victims die. That's when you become a victim. But they may have been a sufferer. And this is where we talk about languages and things like that. Now, Susie Dent said she was never a victim of abuse, she was a sufferer, because she's got through it and now she's moved on with her life. So it's about putting that behind there as well. So what do they have in business? That's where they tend to be preoccupied. So if you're looking at that sort of, with the attachment strategy, they're preoccupied, and that tends to lead to cash flow problems. What do they tend to do? Mostly they give away something, give away too much for free, or they don't charge the right amount of money. And they feel that they can't charge for it. They may not feel that their needs are as important as other people. So the next one we talk about dismissing, well, they're the ones that tend to get the poor product, the esteem sensitivity. Okay, so that's where when you look up the top corner, you'll see that we're talking about the action takers. Okay, they come up with poor products because, like Simon Sinek said in the video, they just want to get in there. They want to be the first to do it. You know, and then you've got the next one, which is looking at the thinking people, and they overthink things, and that's where they end up with poor strategies. They put too much thought into it. Do you need to know how the engine works to drive the car? Why do you need to put this into your plan? Why do you need to teach people how to do that there as well? So this is where they can sort of come into it. How do we get over it? Well, this is where going back to go through the introduction and see whether Simon Sinek resonated with you, or maybe it was Tony Robbins resonated with you, or maybe it was Gary Vee. What was he saying? Was that resonating with you as well? This is where it comes into that if you only focus on one of them and you go to the extreme, you're going to get this issue. If you go to the extreme of what Simon Sinek says, you're going to get cash flow problems. If you do the extreme of Tony Robbins, you're going to be seen as a narcissist, and you're probably going to have poor products. If you go to the extreme of what Gary Vee kind of like does in between the two, and he'll decide what it is. Now, with most people, you get into flow and you're one side or the other and it's comfortable. Gary Vee gets into his flow when everyone else is in frazzle and there's confusion. That's when he jumps in. And what he does is he comes in with his strategy, and his strategy is to just do it. He just goes, okay, yep, forget about all of this sort of stuff. Let's just do this, and let's just do what works. And that's where he charges the strategy. So, and he'll charge $5,000 as a retainer. That's just for your strategy. Then he'll make you spend another $5,000 on developing content that you got to promote around there as well. Okay, so you can see how those people are also, those three business coaches actually relate to here as well with the attachment styles. But we can go further than that, and we can look at, if you're looking at the early adopters, they're probably going to be fans of Tony Robbins. You know, they make the gut feel, and that's why he's talking about that sort of thing. You know, Simon Sinek is more for the early majority, and that's because how he got traction was, remember, he said, you don't talk to the early, if you look at his video, he says you don't talk to the early majority to get the 34% to get across the chasm. Those ones want someone else to have used it first, so they want to talk to early majority. 34% of the population wants to talk to the narcissist personality types. So this is where it comes down to. The positive was that they'll get in there and go. Now, it's not, if you manage the esteem sensitivity properly, it's like they get in there and they do it. Then you come into the last one, which is Gary Vee, which is their problem is that they over-strategize. They want to know why. They want to know if it's how the engine works to drive the car. Is it a diesel? Is it a petrol? What's the fuel economy and everything else? Gary Vee will turn around and say, but hang on, I don't even know if you can drive yet. Show me you can drive, and then I'll talk to you about how to get better performance out of the engine. And basically gets them taking action there as well.